I'm Peggy Pirro, and this is Food From Here. Brought to you by Swerka and More, working to improve the quality of life for seniors in southern Indiana by supporting independent living and helping reduce food insecurity in our community with their intergenerational community garden partnership with Young and Established. On this episode of Food From Here, we meet Mike Schmitt of Sweet Schmitt's Artisan Candies. Mike grew up in Boonville and thought he was going to be a professional photographer before finding his way to candy making. His inspiration? Trips he took with his grandmother to the original Libs in downtown Evansville. In our conversation, we talk about using Etsy to generate sales. And we also get pretty granular about what it took to get his North Main Street shop open, shepherding that process through the particulars of health department and fire department regulations. Toward the end of our conversation, Mike tells the story of creating a special gourmet marshmallow for a favorite comedian. It's a very sweet story. You won't want to miss it. Later in the episode, I'll open up the Food From Here email bag to see what you're all eating this summer. Clearly, our enthusiasm for good food is heedless of heat and humidity. Who's surprised by that? And now, here's my conversation with Mike Schmitt of Sweet Schmitt's Artisan Candies. I wonder, Mike, if we could start with some biographical details. Tell me about where you grew up and maybe most importantly, what kind of candy did you like when you were a kid?
Well, I epitomize don't trust a skinny chef. So there wasn't much that I didn't like except for like nuts and coconut and coffee. But from hard candies to gummies to chocolates, I didn't really
discriminate?
Didn't discriminate. No, not at all. No, I grew up, graduated from Boonville in 88, so been around a few years. Family owned a small business growing up, so we got to travel and see different things with that. And actually, my degree, I have a bachelor's of arts in photography.
Did you ever work as a photographer?
In the Dallas market and a little bit here, but only for about 3 years.
So you left
after high school.
After high school. Mm-hmm.
I left and went to Santa Barbara for about 3 years to go to college, and then back to Dallas, and just kind of found my way back home. So,
were you allowed to trick or treat when you were a kid?
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Were there rules about when you brought your haul back home? Or did they just let you play at it?
I mean, no. I mean, there wasn't really rules or things. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, so it was pretty open. Not much worries about what was going on in the neighborhood. And when you lived outside Chandler, there wasn't a lot of concern about the environment. So, to have parents follow and stay in tow, that wasn't really necessary back then. And so you hung with friends and ran amok, as we Gen Xers like to say.
Did you have favorite Halloween candy? Like you'd get home and you'd toss aside the whatevers?
Yeah, Milky Way was kind of my go-to as far as favorite things. I kind of stayed away from the Reese Cups for some reason.
Oh, we could have traded then because I liked Reese Cups and I liked the chocolate and coconut candies like Mounds Bar. So when you got those, you could have traded with me, and I would give you my Milky Ways, and everybody would be happy.
Today, I make all this different candies, and when it's time for me to munch on stuff, it's gummies and jelly beans, and so I'm more go to the gummy side of life.
We had a candy shop in my hometown. It was a small town. It's about maybe 18,000 people. This candy shop, they made their own chocolate, and we always got enormous Easter chocolate bunnies.
Oh, yeah.
That they seemed so big when I was a kid that they seemed like they were as big as me, but as I got older, they got smaller. I don't know if that was if that actually got smaller or what. But this candy shop, it has an oversized place in my memories of childhood. Was there anything similar
Yeah.
for you when you were growing up?
And that's partially the basis of starting this whole process with Sweet Schmidt's was the original Libs. The original Libs that was downtown and then subsequently out at Washington Square Mall back in the 70s and 80s. It was always a treat for us to go to those. You know, I vividly remember the red and white stripes of Washington Square Mall location, or going with my grandmother to the Farmer's Daughter that was downtown.
Yes.
And then going over and getting some candy from them around the corner from there. So, yeah, Libs was a good foundation. And that's partially, you know, that kind of memory building intrigues me and wants me to do this candy shop. And we've already seen that in the few years we've been open with customers that routinely come in and, you know, it's their daughter or, you know, that special occasion or reason they make a point to come in. And it warms my heart to see that kind of interaction going on.
Yeah, that community building, to realize that you're a part of somebody's life in that way.
Yes,
That's very gratifying.
And food has always symbolized family and memories to me. My granny, my dad's mother, her soups and things for the holidays and all that was a key thing growing up.
You opened Sweet Schmidt's in what year?
We opened the storefront in August of 19.
Okay.
But
So there was something previous to the storefront.
Yes,
Okay,
we
let's go there.
rented kitchens because we incorporated in 16. We'd started on Etsy, etsy.com, back in 12. So we had gone on Etsy and started doing that. And then as people became more aware of what we were creating, I chose to go ahead and incorporate and make it official in 16 to be able to not have health department knocking on our door.
Oh, at home? You mean, doing
home.
things at home? Because there's only so much you can do out of your home kitchen.
Yes, yeah. So we started renting kitchens and wholesale and doing farmers markets because we did Franklin Street Bazaar one year. And then became aware that the end of 18 that where we're at was going to become available first of the year. And so we discussed and said, let's go for it. And so we took over the building in February of 19. And between work outside and remodeling, it kind of took a while to get going, but we got things put together and was able to open August 1st.
Of 2019.
Yeah, 2019. Yeah. So just enough time to really get our feet going.
Before the pandemic.
Before the shutdown, yeah.
Yeah. Let's go back to the Etsy because this is interesting to me. It's not anything that I have talked to local people about how they got started with their businesses. You're the first who has mentioned that you started on Etsy. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about why you chose that route.
Well, my wife being an artist, she had already was familiar with Etsy back early on and had sold items on there. The format was good and the aspects that, you know, your listings lasted 3 months, 20 cents to list. And there seemed to be a lot of food businesses, you know, involved. And the family really enjoyed the caramel that I made. So we kind of combined and started looking on Etsy and noticed that people were selling marshmallows, caramels, and different items and shipping it across the country. So we just kind of went for it with a few items and started building items on there and getting it posted. And Took a little while to get a few items sold, but it steadily has increased. It's not a barn burner, but it definitely has supplemented, and we've reached 48 states.
Nice. Are you still using the
Oh,
Etsy
yeah.
shop? Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, would we love to transition to just straight our own website? Sure, but it has opened a lot of doors, and I'm not going to deny, our revenue stream.
Right.
I've got 3 orders on the books right now getting ready to go out today, and so it's kind of cool to see if I had a pin for the map for each one. It's kind of fun to follow.
I was just going to say that Etsy takes care of a lot of the back end of you have to ship your own product, obviously, but figuring sales tax and combining products and putting a market basket together on the site so that when you get the order, it's clear and it's concise and
Yes.
you know what's expected of you and all the details are there. So I can see where sticking with something like that would just take that little bit of detail work off your plate.
It does cost us a little bit on the back end, and their fees have definitely got more and more over the years. I think for exposure-wise, it's always been a good thing.
I was going to ask you about when you were getting your shop started, your physical shop. It's on North Main, by the way. I don't think we've mentioned that yet.
Yes.
And, of course, there was a lot of construction going on North Main over it was quite an extended period. It looks lovely now, but
Yes.
I'm sure it impacted your business.
Well, we actually took over the building after
It was completed?
Yes.
Okay.
So it was a cake shop before us, and they had to deal with a lot of things to the point that it was kind of funny, in the aspect that everyone started putting yard signs up to try to figure out how to for people to come. And then a certain agency in town started trying to find the businesses because they weren't sanctioned signs. And thankfully, Mayor Linecky said, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah. So let's talk about when you were getting the shop, taking over the shop from the cake shop. A lot of the kitchen-y stuff was already in place.
No.
Oh, it wasn't?
Well, around the same time that we started taking over and things was the big push for the grease trap issues with the city of Evansville. So we had to petition and put our menu together, seating, if we were going to have any seating, all the different aspects being a food business, to figure out what size of grease trap we would be allowed. Then it was the layout, because the building restrictions, we rent, so we don't own the building. And then the fire department and the building inspector trying to figure out the need for a hood or suppress all those little things. And thankfully, I didn't have to get a hood. The grease trap we were able to reduce down to a 70-pound instead of the 1,000-pound. So it made it possible to be able to stay in that building.
Yeah.
Had it been a 1,000-pounder, we wouldn't have been able to open, because they're anywhere between $20,000 and $30,000 to get installed. And since we don't own,
Oh, yeah, that's a non-starter, really.
yeah, it's a non-starter. The only aspect was that because of connections being so limited as far as size-wise, it became limited on how many different brands of grease traps we could utilize.
Huh.
Usually you have a 3 to 4 inch discharge.
Connector? Uh-huh.
Well, we only had a 2 inch, and there's only 2 companies that supply a grease trap that can be throttled to 2 inch.
You don't think about these things,
Oh, no,
right? You just want to make some candy.
Yeah, I just
right?
want, And then when you're dealing with the city, surprises of them showing up and you're not expecting it and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, there's no one place to go to get the information that you need, and the information is not necessarily spelled out in sufficient detail.
Yeah, and if there was something that the city could improve on, is having that kind of aspects. Just that, they wanted us to have a sample port on the outflow.
I don't even know what that is.
It was on the outflow of the grease trap. They wanted a sample port to be able to draw.
Oh, so they could test it every once in a while, or check it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. The only one commercially made that we found was $500 by itself.
Just for that.
For that
add-on.
Add-on. And I got looking at the way that it was designed. Went to Home Depot, laid out sanitary teas and made it, and took it to them, and they were like, "Oh, that'll work." And it was like $35, $40, $50. You know, it was like, wait a minute. You would help small businesses, especially mom and pops trying to open, if we had this information.
If somebody could have said, you can put that together yourself, and here, I'll even give you a link to a diagram.
Yeah. Yeah. So is our building perfect for long term? Maybe in the retail aspects. I hope to get another place for production. You know, we get big enough, use the kitchen we have as a test kitchen down the road. I mean, because my ultimate goal is to do bean to bar concept, which Evansville's never seen. So I want to import the beans and roast them and go through the melcher and actually be Evansville's Hershey.
Well, you clearly have knowledge of construction in general, and perhaps this is due in part because candy making is not your sole occupation. You have a regular job too. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how it fits in with the candy making? I mean, they're very different. Obviously, they're very different, but you can see that it's come in handy.
Oh, it's come in handy, yeah. Well, I mean, I've grown up with can do, will do, make do kind of attitudes over the times. And yes, my primary source of income right now is construction safety. Being our family business, we were very attuned to helping people back then. It kind of translated into me taking my EMT skills back in the day after figuring out that this area isn't very conducive to commercial photography. I kind of transitioned into the construction safety. And while it's great, I enjoy working with the guys and overseeing and things like that, it's not my passion. The food is, and that's the retirement. So it's kind of a means to the end down the road.
Yeah, it's like your on-ramp. Your candy shop is your on-ramp to what you want to be doing when you're not doing the other anywhere. Yeah. How did you learn to make candy?
Trial and error. I mean, I've always enjoyed cooking in general. So watching Alton Brown and Good Eats and understanding the science behind things, figured out the caramel aspects as far as getting that flavor done to what we like, because there are so many different recipes for caramel and fudges and marshmallows. You know, one of the things I've focused on is marshmallows from scratch. And nobody in this area does them the size or the infusion, because we call them a dessert marshmallow because of the size of them. There are 3 or 4 biter.
Yeah, they're the size of a Rubik's Cube almost. They're pretty substantial and they look lovely. And you're right, they are not, at least I haven't seen them made locally.
No, you see smaller ones or just marshmallow and dipped in chocolate. It's just a marshmallow. It's not infused with flavors. You know, I have recipes for, I think, 12 different flavors. I want 30.
Now, when you say flavors, are you saying that the marshmallow itself?
Yes.
Or it's
infused.
Included in the recipe?
So like what I brought you was 3 of our biggest sellers. Our Cafe Mocha marshmallow, which is a coffee-based marshmallow. We use Evansville Coffee Company. So we utilize local support when it comes to some of the ingredients that we were able to use. So it's a coffee-based marshmallow with our vanilla caramel in the center, and then it's dipped in chocolate, and then there's some coffee beans to go on top.
It's very pretty.
And then the s'more marshmallow is a vanilla marshmallow that's been toasted, then dipped in milk chocolate and graham crackers around the outside. And then the lemon, is one of my favorites, is a lemon cream marshmallow. And it's a lemon marshmallow with a lemon sandwich cookie crumble.
Oh, yum. Okay, that one's all mine.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. But we have probably one of our biggest sellers is the coconut marshmallow.
Yeah?
And it's a coconut, my wife calls it a coconut cream pie.
Oh, okay.
I'm not a coconut fan, so I've never eaten it. I just make it. It's been fun. I mean, I want 30 marshmallows, so like key lime pie and Rocky Road and different things like that can be, and we utilize the different chocolates to complement.
Yeah.
Because like we do a dinner mint that tastes like an Andy's dinner mint, and that goes with dark chocolate and cherry that I put a cherry gummy on it just so we know what it is.
Well, I love that. That opens the door to so much creativity in these candies. You know, the few times I've tried making candy at home, it's very temperature sensitive and it's moisture sensitive, and I had very mixed results. So I know that there's a learning curve to make these things. The first time I made caramels, they came out like so hard you could not bite them. You couldn't. I don't know. I cooked them too long or at too high a temperature or something. They were inedible. So so hats off to you.
Werther's Originals are firm.
Is that basically a caramel?
It's considered a caramel, but it's a hard caramel.
Yeah. Okay. See.
So it wasn't inedible.
It wasn't what I was going for.
True.
Say that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the Etsy shop as one income stream, and of course your retail shop on North Main Street, and you also do events.
Yes.
I know you did the Chocolate Affair, and that's a long-running annual event here in Evansville, and you were at the Evansville Horror Con. Is that correct? Or was that a couple years ago?
Wife went to it.
Okay.
We do Granted Dishes for Wishes. We've done that every year since we've been available since 20. In fact, that was our last event before COVID shut us down. But Dish for Wishes is an awesome, locally supported program for granting wishes for like Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Sure, yeah.
But it's locally based. So their event will be in, I think, either August or September this year out at Discovery Lodge out at Burdett. And it's a great organization. Our two main focuses is the Chocolate Affair. Lampion Center has been a long-running support for women's needs and family counseling and support. Being that we've lost family members to cancer and things like that, the term, Dishes for Wishes is close to our hearts.
Oh, sure.
And then we may get to the point at some point, but right now, there's not a lot of donations we haven't turned down, whether it's with the VHS or It Takes a Village.
Those are both good organizations. How much time does that take?
I mean, a lot of the donations end up being just like baskets or something like that.
Okay, so you don't have to be on site for the actual event.
Those two events, it's just an evening a lot of times. And definitely you got about a week and a half of prep because being like on Chocolate Affair, we take all our alcohol-based truffles, and I want to make sure we have enough and they get a good sampling.
Let's talk a little bit about marketing your shop.
What we focus on is the Ambassadors Club, and it kind of evolved from watching Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives back in the day of a microbrewery that did beer for life, and they charged $1,000. I have no idea what the parameters were for what they got, but within 2 weeks they had 75 people sign up for Beer for Life.
That's astonishing, right?
Yeah.
At that price point.
So, yeah, $1,000. So that, to them, that was an infusion of $75,000 that they could parlay into expanding their capacity and all this stuff. So we got thinking about it. It was like, well, we're wanting to build memories. We're wanting to be here for a long period. So we came up with the Ambassadors Club. And with the Ambassadors Club, There's the 5-year and a lifetime, and then there's a corporate level. Both the 5-year and lifetime, you get $120 credit to utilize at any time for anything in the shop, whether it be shipping, baskets, self-indulgence, whatever your fancy is. And while that's nice, because like in the 5 years, you're basically prepaying for the 5 years.
Sure.
But we know $120 and our price points can go real fast. So you get 50% off anything additional over that $120. So if you signed up today and had everything done by or utilized by Labor Day, and we still had 8 months to go, you would get 50% off anything additional. So, through Christmas and Valentine's. And one of the biggest things is part of the community aspects. When we come up with new items, like we're putting together right now a new truffle that is coconut rum. And when we get it to a point that we feel comfortable with it, then everyone that is a club member gets to try it, give their input before we put it out. When we get more and more people involved, then we'll have tasting parties.
Yeah. You've launched this program?
Yes.
And
yes.
Does it feel like it's going to be well received?
I think the biggest issue is trying to figure out how to market this.
The program itself.
Let people know. We've utilized it a lot of times for donations for like Channel 9 auction. Each year we do a couple 5-year and lifetime memberships, and they become great avenues there.
I wonder if you could share with us this story about the Mexican mango spicy dark chocolate marshmallow that you created. I don't know if you were making a basket or if you were going to, I don't know the details of it, but you were making it for a show that you ended up having to miss.
Yes.
And I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about that story.
Gabriel Iglesias, or Fluffy, as everyone knows him as far as comedians go, is one of my favorite comedians. He's just very real, down to earth, and just a lovable kind of goofy guy. And I seen first part of the year that he was coming to Evansville in October. So I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta go, and to honor him, I wanted to put together a marshmallow that was specifically for him. So we started working, with flavors that is Hispanic in nature. So we chose mango and then coupled it with chamoy and tajin, and then dipped it in a Mexican dark chocolate.
Now, what are chamoy and tajin?
Chamoy is a sauce to go with fruit.
Okay.
So it's a spicy sauce that is partnered with a lot of fruits in general.
Okay.
Tajin is the lime, spice, chili, salt.
Okay.
That goes with a lot of foods.
Yeah, it gets put on roasted corn sometimes, correct? Yeah,
right.
Okay. All right. So you've got the salt, and you've got this sauce, and you've got your mangoes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's a mango-based marshmallow. I mean, we put a lot of time. It took about 4 different iterations to come up with the flavor profile so that you could taste the mango, you could taste the spice and kind of the lime and that, and then the Mexican dark chocolate. So it's got a little cinnamon, a little hot chili peppers. So yeah, it worked out really nicely. Well, got it all put together in August. I went in to talk to my doctor about some things and come find out that I had 200% blocked arteries on my heart, which, had it been an emergency, everything would have been all right. By the time that Fluffy was coming to town, but because I was upright and walking and no real issues, they wanted to take their time to do the test and do it right, so I wouldn't have any issues later on. And so I didn't have surgery until October 23rd. So I was still in the hospital when this all happened.
Yeah.
But through friends and cohorts and that, was able to get a basket of said new marshmallows to him and get a little video of him receiving it. So it was good there. I was more disappointed that I missed the show than because I was at peace with the surgery.
Did he know that you were doing this?
He didn't know until he received it. I need to reach out, try to contact him to see, but I think he's in Europe right now.
I think there was a video that you put up on Facebook with him, though.
Yes.
That I watched that, and that was nice. So, yeah, well, how are you feeling now?
Oh, I'm good.
You're good?
Good, yeah. As my granny used to say, I feel with my fingers and toes. But yeah, I don't know.
While we're going to wrap up here, maybe you can share with me if there have been aspects of your business that surprised you.
The reaction of people, of kids. We had early on had I think he was 5 or 7, something like that, young, and he was just high enough to get to see into the case. And he was looking at the marshmallows and just was so enamored, and I was like, would you like a marshmallow? And he looked up at his mom and kind of, can I, Mom? Can I? And so I gave him the s'more marshmallow, and he just held it like it was his prized possession. And that just
That did feel good.
yeah. And I know my wife tells the story that when she was young, they used to once a week go get hot chocolate at Knotty Pine, because they lived right down the street from the old Knotty Pine diner. Well, she just found out a few years ago that actually they only went one time. But that was such an indelible memory in her that she thought they went all the time. And so, to me, that little boy is now going to always remember when he got a marshmallow from a candy shop with his mom. And that to me is the surprise. And, we make over, between my daughter-in-law and what I make, we have over 100 items that we make in-house. And so there's something for everyone.
Michael Schmitt, thank you so much for coming in and talking with me today.
Yeah,
it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Food From Here is sponsored by Swerka and More in their intergenerational community garden partnership with Young and Established. Swerka and More works to improve the quality of life for seniors in southern Indiana by supporting independent living and helping to reduce food insecurity in our community. Last time on Food From Here, I asked, what was on your table this summer? What are you cooking? What are you eating? Do you have a summer go-to that's making your kitchen time more enjoyable? And here's what you said. First, from Lauren, who writes, Hi, Peggy. This summer, I've been making a lot of ceviche. It's something I learned and started making in Colombia. I like it best with white fish like tilapia or cod, but a good way to make it more affordable is by substituting frozen shrimp. You'll want to boil the shrimp instead of cooking it in lime juice the traditional way, because it probably isn't a good idea to cook previously frozen raw shrimp just in lime juice. Way too much room for error. She continues, we had friends over a couple of weeks ago and I made shrimp ceviche with lime, jalapeno, serrano peppers because my jalapeno wasn't hot enough, mango, red onion, and avocado. Eat it with crackers, tortilla chips, or plantain chips, and it's the perfect light meal for summer. If you make it with frozen shrimp, you could boil the shrimp for 2 minutes and then put it in an ice bath. When you mix it all together, no one will know or care that you didn't do it the traditional way. That sounds delicious, Lauren. Thank you. Claire sent a quick note that says, after picking a few pounds of blueberries at Decker's Farm, I made a blueberry cobbler. Well, yeah, all things cobbler in the summer. Good choice. Thank you, Claire. From Linda, we got this note. I decided to host some friends on the 4th of July. It was a great opportunity to use some of my fresh backyard blackberries. I decided to make a blackberry trifle. As is my nature, I made things a bit more complicated than I needed to with lots of extra homemade pudding and blackberry sauce. Made quite a bit, so I decided it would be nice for my husband and I to have some for ourselves the next day. I divided it into 2 bowls and put one aside. The other one I put into a very pretty, clear, flared bowl that I use all the time. Since I had all those egg whites left over from making the pudding, I decided to make meringue at the last minute just to be fancy. Just a quick whip, and I plopped the meringue on top of the trifle, stuck it in the oven for a quick browning on top. When my timer was about to go off, I heard a bang from the oven. My bowl had shattered all over the oven. What a mess. But there was the trifle sitting on the oven rack with that beautiful meringue on top, pretty as a picture. I was so glad, she says, that I had an extra trifle in the fridge. We just ate that with whipped cream. It was delicious. Sean writes, cantaloupe and watermelon. Well, yeah, of course. She goes on to say, my favorite recipe for a summertime gathering is shrimp and sausage pasta. Penne pasta, smoked sausage, sautéed shrimp, green peppers and onions, and homemade Alfredo sauce. You sauté those green peppers and onions, add the shrimp, add the sausage, cook the penne pasta. The Alfredo sauce is just a combination of cream and salted butter and Parmesan cheese. Add salt and pepper as you like. Add the pasta. It's simple. It's delicious. You could serve it with a baguette and salad, she says. But really, why gild that lily? Thank you, Sean. That sounds so good. And finally, we heard from Jubilee Fly, who was a guest on Food From Here earlier this year. Her note says, the oven is closed for summer, but the new Instapot is open and it's awesome. There's a learning curve, she says. So far, I'm able to just throw things in and they come out cooked and delicious. Frozen fish goes in frozen, ready in less than 20 minutes. To keep hydrated, she continues, I have been picking herbs and making herbal sun tea with catnip, lemon balm, rose for calming, and fennel and hyssop add wonderful flavor. Tulsi, which is holy basil, that's my favorite, she says. Add honey and lemon after straining if you'd like some sweetness. Put it in jars in the fridge. Frozen bananas for shakes, she goes on, with seasonal fruit and herbs and milk of choice. For breakfast, dessert, a pick-me-up. And finally, mandolin sliced zucchini and squash on the grill. Toss it with oil, garlic powder, and salt before grilling. Sounds like summer to me, Jubilee. Thank you. If you have a recipe to share or are looking for some summer meal inspiration, just get in touch. Send an email to foodfromhere@wnin.org. Let me know what you're enjoying and if you're eating from your own garden or if you're going out to eat a little more often and leaving the cooking to others. I'll share your stories and questions on an upcoming episode of Food From Here. That's foodfromhere@wnin.org. And that's our show. Join me next time when I sit down with Sam Bente of Haney's Corner Brewing Company for some refreshing talk about beer. Food From Here is produced at Tri-State Media in Evansville, Indiana, home of WNIN-FM and WNIN-PBS, and made possible by support from Swerka and More and listeners like you. I'm Peggy Pirro. Thanks for listening.